California. If you live there, that's what you're going to get. So we still have that moist flow coming in. What's happening today, though, is that we're not going to have that big threat of severe weather. And yes, this kind of looks like it graphically, but this low pressure doesn't look as cute in real life as it does graphically.
It's not going to do much. We still have the subtropical jet stream energy over the area. What's really going to get us is this old front that just kind of gets stuck here for days and days. So while we may not see severe weather, we are going to get some rain and thunderstorms, and it's going to stick around for a while there.
Okay, so I think that, yes, as Jen mentioned, we could have some storms. We don't anticipate them to be off the charts severe like we saw, yesterday.
South Texas, perhaps. Maybe on the dry line later today, we may see some storms going. Houston, I was tracking storm potential for you. It's overnight tonight. It takes so long for these storms to get there. But the rest of the southeast with this old front, places like New Orleans and Tallahassee and Panama City, we kind of get stuck.
Yeah, and the upper level energy just travels through the southeast, but it's kind of like disorganized. It falls apart. It doesn't really have its act together.
But it does keep the at least the chance for clouds and showers around. So it might add up. You look at the rainfall forecast, and this goes all the way through Friday. We're going to have a couple of rounds of rain. We may again see that cluster of thunderstorms tonight move from Texas and then track on over across the northern Gulf. Could end up with a couple of inches.
Yeah, we could, for sure. And again, you could have a couple cracks of lightning. You can't rule out, a little bit of hail here and there, but we're not anticipating the softball-size hail, the baseball-size hail like we saw yesterday.
Which is just unbelievable, and that's what everyone's talking about this morning. Certainly in Texas, that's for sure. Take a look at Pensacola. Rainy week ahead. All the big popular spring breaks, I think, have passed for most schools. So at least you have all the spring breakers here trying to find something to do.
All right, Anna Riz.
And people in North Texas are cleaning up this morning.
This drone video.
I mean, this almost looks fake, right? First of all, the vantage point, we don't get to see that often. This is from a drone.
We will from now on, though, with all these drones.
We are. This is over Wiley, Texas. You see the whole neighborhood, and then you look at the sky. I mean, it's so dramatic.
It is so dramatic. So this is a shelf cloud. You can go ahead. Sorry,
Jen. I mean, first of all, you see the green. That's the first thing my eyes go to. It makes you think, is this real? But it is indeed. This is where we had softball-sized hail.
And the green does that. So the way that the hail is and then the light interacts with the hail, it causes that green tinge. So if you ever see that, you know that there's going to be hail. This is the shelf cloud with the storm. And I also think it's interesting.
Leading edge right there.
Yeah, the leading edge right there. I also think it's interesting. You see these little pieces coming down. It's like it's trying to do something, you know? But it's not really developing.
This was a long-lived supercell. 150 miles I traveled across Texas.
But I wonder about the legalities with these drones and all the neighborhoods. That's going to be a whole other issue.
Amazing video.
It'll be interesting to see how this whole drone thing plans out, because people are going to be like, look, you can't shoot my house like that.
Well, let's take a look at what's coming next here, too. We got a lot coming into Texas, actually, and in the way of rain, not hail. But the next big weather maker comes this weekend. You see this big old sort of spin off of the west coast. This becomes the next piece of energy that dives down and eventually causes weather for days across the plains.
Well, for days, because there's a big high pressure to the east that's going to block this thing from moving east.
Yeah, so track it. We can track it.
Oh, there's the ridge.
So there's the ridge building. You see this big upper level low. You see pieces of energy rotating around that. And this is our Omega block. So this keeps things blocked up.
Yeah, it's like a really good defensive line here, and then the offense, not so good. And I won't be calling out any teams just yet, but that's essentially what's going to happen. So right in the center, lots of moisture, too.
Lots of moisture. Precipitable water amounts are going to be sort of the peak of what you would expect this time of year. Severe weather risks actually go back up on Friday. We'll see that from West Texas right up across portions of the high plains. But then watch the precipitable water and how much moisture returns to the area. Gulf of Mexico, we're going to get moisture, I bet you, coming in from the Pacific as well.
Yeah, I mean, well, first off, from the Pacific, too, yes, but we have our low pressure right here, counterclockwise flow bringing it up, high pressure here, clockwise flow. So two of those combined is like double the pleasure, double your fun.
And nothing moving for days. So we are going to be looking at inches and inches of rain over that same area for at least, I would say, 3 to 4 days. We take a look at the forecast for rainfall. We added up through next Monday. It's going to be widespread 3 to 5 inches. Some spots might get 7 inches of rain. It's possible. The interesting thing, Steph, is it's fairly well placed in an area that's been so dry lately. You go back to the beginning of the year, no drought across the plains. Now all of a sudden, moderate drought has been introduced to a fairly large area.
You know what else is good? Not a bad winter here, so we don't have all the melting. Because imagine if all the snow was melting
streams
from
are
this
low,
winter.
no rivers are in flood right now, so hopefully we can handle it. But that's a lot of rain.
That it is. But of course, it's going to come into the northwest before it does all.
Seems like enough, right? But it's well below average in Syracuse. The question many of you have been asking us is this it for winter? Well, we've got a map that shows the average last date of snowfall. And for a lot of us, we are getting to that date, some of those snowy spots like Syracuse, where it happens to be snowing this morning. Our average last date of snow is April the 16th, and that fits right in this area right here, which corresponds to the red, April 11th to April 22nd. So you look at all these areas in the red, and we're coming into our average last date of snow. Not to say it can't happen beyond, and in Syracuse, for example, we've had snow as late as May, but we're probably near the end of it. And when we look at the pattern coming our way, I would say for the next couple of weeks, we're at the end. So take a look. We are going to be looking at this little bit of cool air that's kind of dipping in and glancing the northeast, not really going to do much other than bring a couple of flakes like we see right now to places like Marquette or Syracuse. That lifts out, and then we look at the pattern change coming by the end of the week. You know, it's going to be a big blocking pattern. This big omega block sets up. Watch, I'm going to draw on the Greek letter omega. This means really warm conditions for the Midwest and most of the north and east. It is going to be cool in the west, and while we might add a little more mountain snow, we are not going to add any more snow into places like Marquette or into International Falls over the next, say, 5 or 7 days when you look at this pattern. And then we go beyond that, and it's still a fairly warm pattern here. The jet stream goes more zonal. We do look at no big intrusions really coming in, though, across the U.S. So it's a fairly warm pattern getting into the end of the month for most of the country. And then we start talking May, and then it gets a little bit harder to get snow, doesn't it? You look at these readings and you look at the numbers in the south. Of course, we're beyond talking about snow. It really warms up. That's the trend looking beyond this week into next weekend, into the week beyond. Temperatures hitting the 80s in the south. Kelly.